It's an airline every Canadian has heard of, but not every Canadian dares to fly on. Growing up in the States, I have never had a reason to fly Flair, but on March 20th, 2025, that changed. Flair has taken the award for my personal biggest flight ripoff thus far, and we are about to find out whether this flight is better than the likes of Air Canada, because that's what it cost me. It's approximately 4:45 p.m. and I'm here longingly looking out of my window in shock that my plane finally arrived from Cancun almost an hour late. That's right, you're looking at C-FLKA, a 6-year-old Boeing 737 MAX8 delivered straight to Flair in July of 2021. In case you were wondering, the flight not only arrived late, but we also had some ground delays leading to us leaving 2.5 hours late. So much for daylight in Vegas. Anyways, as we begrudgingly find our way to our seat today, that is 24A, in this single-class, all-economy cabin featuring 189 sad and suffering souls trying to get to their destination without going bankrupt. With 29 inches of pitch and 17 inches of width, this seat officially is the second worst seat behind Frontier. On the bright side, there's a safety card outlining all possible ways off this thing in case you lose your mind. And what I think is the nastiest airline magazine ever. I did not even attempt to take it out. The seat does feature a recline button, but don't let that fool you. You are poor and can't afford to move your seat back. It does nothing. Here's me proving that for some reason. The seat does come with a full tray table. The camera does not pick it up well, but it was fairly dirty. I'd imagine the seat pocket hasn't showered in a few days either. If you happen to like flying and think this video is fun or cool or interesting or even just straight up awful, be sure to like and subscribe because this is not my last video.
May we now have your attention for the following safety demonstration. Your safety features card is located in the seat pocket in front of you.
On August 19th, 2005, Flair Air took its first strides and did so with a fleet of two 727-200s, one passenger and one cargo, of which it operated flights for Cubana between Canada and Cuba, but only from January to April of 2006. For the next 2 years, the airline vanished into the void, only to come back, kinda, in 2008 with a fleet of 737-400s. Either it's not common knowledge or I suck at researching it. Not much happened with Flair until about 2016, early 2017 when it purchased New Leaf. This gave Flair a boost in the airline industry, setting it up for its inevitable grand rebranding into what it is today in 2019. Since then, the airline is the only ULCC in Canada to properly survive the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, and seems to have taken advantage of that fact to the fullest extent. Headquartered in Edmonton, Flair operates a fleet of just 20 737s, which, being so limited, has actually put a strain on their operations, which is part of the reason my flight is late today. Unfortunately, the airline doesn't charge its customers like that's the case, but more on that later. now that we are up and away, I will not be showing you the snack and beverage service because I had to pay for it. If you know me at all, you'll know that I'd rather starve than pay $6 for a bag of chips or a can of soda. Anything to ensure I'm actually getting my money's worth. Instead, let's talk about the horrible experience I had with Flair. My entire trip was Vancouver to Las Vegas to Phoenix to Portland to Idaho Falls. It was always supposed to be different airlines, and my options to Las Vegas were really only between Air Canada and Flair. Both airlines had non-stops and were both around $99. Air Canada seemed like the better deal, but I went with Flair just to see what would happen. Unfortunately, I can't book a flight without spending money on seat selection, which raised the price of the ticket to between $130 and $150. This was almost a year ago, and I don't remember the exact number. Bear with me. For a solid 3 weeks, that was the price, and I was satisfied. It wasn't until a few days before the flight that I started getting nervous about my backpack being too big. I asked around to some locals who had flown Flair before, and they all said that Flair was super stingy about bag sizes. The site would not let me check in without verifying the bag at the counter, and the counter would charge me nearly $100 if it was too big for a personal item. So, after considering what I had learned and seeing how packed my bag was, I was left with no choice but to buy a carry-on. That saw my bank account drop another $70, putting this flight at over $200 one way. Had I flown Air Canada, I would have had a better seat, better legroom, a better drink service, better entertainment, and it would have still been cheaper than Flair at around $150 after all the fees. It is for this reason that this flight left a bad taste in my mouth. One thing I can respect about Flair is that the airline insists on flying newer aircraft, of which involve solely the 737 MAX8. With an average fleet age of just 7 years, the airline maintains one of the most modern fleets in North America. However, it is only a fleet of 20 aircraft. While as an AvGeek I do enjoy flying older aircraft, there is something to be said about a ULCC, of all airlines, operating such a young fleet. As great as this is though, other ULCCs have recently followed behind, including both Frontier and Spirit's massive A320neo deliveries in the last few years. On that note, we are just about to land, and I'd like to say that my experience today was overshadowed by overpriced basic amenities of which ULCCs are known to do. At the end of the day, I fell victim to the system, and it goes to show the downside of trying to fly cheap in 2025. Unfortunately, my rating system does include price value, and this flight has ultimately failed in that category, whether it be my fault or not. Welcome to the only city where fortunes are reversed in the press of a button or a flip of a card. It's Las Vegas, Nevada. My flight today overall was not horrible, but I can't say I loved it. The seat was filthy and a massive delay, which, at the roots, was caused by the airline's lack of aircraft and ability to have scheduling flexibility. The cost of today's flight, sure, it was my fault buying a carry-on bag, but at the end of the day, the purpose of booking was to be cheap, and it failed to accomplish that goal. When comparing to my $80 flights on Spirit and Frontier, this flight was clearly a lot worse. I'd give this flight a 5 out of 10, considering the seats did seem to have a little more cushion and the customer service was kind and professional. I would not recommend this flight unless you can get it for half the price. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel to see more content in the future. Be sure to join me next time on another United E175 from Boise to San Francisco. Until then, thanks for watching.
Thank you.